A former federal prosecutor and president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers. Very good to have you on the program, sir. What kind of documents are we talking about here, and what kind of information could they contain?
Well, we know that there's terabytes of data, and we know that because there were discussions between the lawyers in the Ghislaine Maxwell criminal prosecution, as well as the Virginia Giuffre civil lawsuit against then Prince Andrew, that talked about all the evidence in the case. Now, of course, the House Oversight Committee has produced some emails in the past week or so, but that's just a small part. I think what we're really looking for here would be FBI interviews with the survivors, any other evidence implicating other perpetrators. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein is dead, can't prosecute him, but if there's other people that participated in these sex acts, if they can be brought to justice, I think that will be important for these victims who all appeared in Washington, D.C. today.
So let's just understand here. I mean, if there were details in these documents that were actually incriminating to, for example, Donald Trump in this case, wouldn't prosecutors have already been going after those individuals?
Well, according to the Department of Justice in their July memorandum, there is no basis to charge any third parties with respect to the Epstein sex abuse. Now, the president has asked the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, Clayton, to investigate some people that he believes are implicated in the Epstein sex abuse. And he's named some of these individuals like Bill Clinton, former Harvard President Larry Summers, and Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn founder. Now, I'm not saying there's any evidence to support those allegations, but there is at least one investigation that has been open. Now, what's important to know is this: when you're talking about a criminal case, it requires more than a document or a video or a memorandum. It requires a witness that's going to show up to court and to testify. The evidence that we've been talking about in the Epstein files, under the rules of evidence, they're hearsay, and under the confrontation clause of the Constitution, an accused has the right to cross-examine their accuser under U.S. law. So that means that witness has to testify and be cross-examined. So we'll see if anything comes of the production of the Epstein files, if that happens. But we really need victims to move a criminal prosecution forward.
So how surprised are you now that lawmakers in both the House and the Senate basically went against Donald Trump and got this bill passed?
I'm not surprised, especially after the president came out on Sunday and encouraged House Republicans to vote for this bill. Everyone in Congress, except one notable exception, Clay Higgins, a Republican from Louisiana, voted in favor of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, both in the House and the Senate. I fully expect the president to sign it into law. He said he would. And even if he were to veto it, the House and Senate can overcome that veto by a 2/3 majority. So this will become the law. The question I have, though, is the Department of Justice actually going to produce these files? Let's not forget, the production of the Epstein files could have already happened. It's the Department of Justice's privilege. They have the law enforcement privilege. They have the deliberative process privilege. Pam Bondi, with a stroke of her pen, could have produced all this material already. Now, there's two notable exceptions under U.S. law. Grand jury transcripts, they can't be produced. Those are secret. A judge has to order that. And information related to victims of sex abuse, that has to be redacted or withheld. But short of that, the rest of this could have already been produced if the Department of Justice wanted to do so. So the question is, now that this law is passed, are they going to produce the information, or are they going to assert these privileges? And if so, then a judge is going to have to step in and rule on this dispute between the legislature and the executive branch.
And of course, you need the signature of Donald Trump himself to actually get this bill passed all the way. All right, Mr. Rahmani, thank you so much for your time here on TRT World.
Thanks for having me.